Shri, and I'm back again with the video, and in this lecture we'll be covering the theories of intelligence. So what I need you all to understand is that we will be covering around 5 theories of intelligence. But before diving into them, we'll be understanding the two major approaches of intelligence under which all of these theories would fall, right? So these approaches kind of have a different method of understanding intelligence, and that is what we're going to look at. So we'll understand how these approaches are kind of dealing with the world of intelligence, and thereafter from the next video we'll be covering the theories, and therefore we will try to understand which theory falls under which of those two approaches, right? So that is all. We'll be covering the two major approaches, and from the next video we'll cover the theories one by one, right? So even before kind of introducing you to the two major approaches of intelligence, I want you guys to remind yourselves of the two popular terms. These are very popular terms that we use kind of on a frequent basis in our like normal communication with people, right? And these terms are physiology, that's the first term, and the second term is anatomy. And you would know this in 2 minutes. Why am I going to talk about these terms and how are they important for us to understand the nature of these two approaches to intelligence? So let us remind ourselves of these terms, because we've all studied the basics of biology at least till our 10th grade. So even if we haven't taken science in 11th and 12th, we have dealt with these terms till 10th grade, right? So anatomy, if you guys remember, anatomy kind of deals with the internal and external structures of the body and the physical relationship between these structures, right? So when we're talking about anatomy, we're talking about the structure of the body, right? Structures of the body. And again, let us also try to understand what physiology was. Let's at least try to run our mind, put a little bit of effort in reminding ourselves of what exactly physiology was about. Easy. So basically anatomy is kind of laying out a structure of the body, right? Laying out the map of the body, where what kind of structures lie in whatever in XYZ part of our body, and it's giving us a map of our body, right? But what is physiology doing, right? Will these structures be of any use to us if we did not have physiology? You guys are right. Then anatomy would have been of no use. So physiology is kind of complementing anatomy, right? So it's the study of the functions of those structures, right? So anatomy lays out the map of the body, lays out the various structures of the body, and physiology is kind of helping us in understanding the functions of these structures that we kind of enlist with the help of anatomy. Now with this background, I want you guys to understand the two approaches of intelligence, because this is exactly how these approaches are dealing with intelligence. The first approach that we'll be dealing with is kind of laying out the structure of intelligence, that is, what does intelligence consist of. And the second approach will go on ahead on a deeper level, will give us a deeper level of understanding, and will tell us that how does an intelligent person exactly acts, right? How does an intelligent person act, right? So therefore one is kind of telling us the structure of intelligence, and other the function of an intelligent person. How does an intelligent person function in real life, right? So now let's introduce the two popular terms that actually we have to deal with right now. So we have two approaches, as I said, right, to studying intelligence, and these two approaches are psychometric approach, right, the one that is dealing with the structure of intelligence. Again, remember yourself, so this will be compared to the body anatomy, right, the function that anatomy plays in biology. And the next approach is the information processing approach. And the information processing approach is kind of dealing with or kind of helping us understand how an intelligent individual acts. So therefore playing the role of physiology, right? We can compare information processing approach to the role that is played by physiology in biology, right? So therefore remember that, anatomy versus physiology, compare it to psychometric approach versus the information processing approach, and this will help you all to build a strong foundation towards understanding these two approaches under which all the possible theories of intelligence actually fall today. All the possible, or let's say mostly, let's play it safe, mostly all intelligence, all the theories of intelligence would fall under these two broad approaches, right? So let's kind of dive into details and look at how these two approaches are different from each other, and therefore how they are playing very important role. Both of these approaches play a very important role in kind of understanding how the world of intelligence how the world of intelligence acts, or how the world of intelligence is actually important, right? So yeah, let's dive into the same. Now the first feature that we actually have to learn is what is the major focus of these two approaches, right? This is the first category that we have to deal with. What is the major focus? So what is the major focus of the psychometric approach versus the major focus of the information processing approach? Again guys, I just cleared it out. So the major focus, let's first deal with the psychometric. So for the psychometric approach, the major focus becomes the structure of intelligence, right? And again, it's again a repetition, but I'm stating it here. So for the information processing approach, I'm just writing this in a short form. For the information processing approach, the major focus becomes how an intelligent person acts. Now if we try to dive into a little more details, when we talk about structure of intelligence, what is the psychometric approach exactly trying to do, right? What is it trying to do? It's kind of defining intelligence in terms of an aggregate of cognitive abilities. Now what do I mean by this, guys? Basically what psychometric approach is trying to do is stating a number of abilities. For example, if I have XYZ abilities, I am intelligent. Now these abilities can be absent in you, can be present in me, or vice versa. Or the level of these abilities can also differ among the two of us. Let's leave level, even the number of these abilities can differ among the two of us. So therefore the number or the level, or rather the absence or the presence of these abilities is going to determine how intelligent we are. So that is what psychometric approach is doing, kind of stating these abilities that make us intelligent, right? So therefore mapping intelligence, structure of intelligence, right? Now what is information processing approach doing then? It's pretty easy. It is kind of defining the processes that are used in reasoning, problem solving, or rather we can say these are basically the cognitive functions, right? So we kind of dealing with a number of activities throughout the day, and what kind of processes are we using to kind of deal with those activities, to deal with these daily tasks. So how are we acting in different situations? How are we catering to the different challenges that we are coming across throughout the day? So this is how we are acting. We are intelligent and we are acting this way because we are using these XYZ resources in such a way to kind of cope up with different challenges that are posed to us throughout the day. So this is how we kind of differentiate between the psychometric and the information processing approach, keeping in mind the major focus, right? So remember, the major focus of psychometric approach is the structure of intelligence, and therefore we can provide details in the same, versus the major focus of information processing approach is how an intelligent person acts, and again you can explain the same in your own words. Let's now move on to the second category of category of differentiation between the psychometric approach and the information processing approach. So what do you think the kind of questions these two approaches would be dealing with? Obviously, when the world of intelligence was introduced, it was a vague world, right? And people had a lot of questions. Not everything was very scientific. Not everything had a proof, backing it. So people had a number of questions from the various theories that were coming up that were kind of explaining how intelligence works. So when we talk about the psychometric approach deals with the question of what, right? Deals with the question of what. Why am I saying what? Because people had questions like, what does intelligence actually consist of? Can we quantify intelligence, right? It is quantifying intelligence. It is telling us that intelligence consists of XYZ ABC abilities. Therefore, it is kind of answering questions or providing us with an answering to questions of what does intelligence consist of, right? Now versus the information processing approach. This approach is dealing with the questions of why, how does an intelligent person act? If I am intelligent, how will I act? And why am I acting this way? There is a reason, right? There is a reason. How am I playing out in this situation? Why am I reacting to this situation in this particular manner, right? So therefore the questions of what nature were dealt or are dealt with the psychometric approach, with the help of the psychometric approach, and the questions of why and how are dealt with by the information processing approach, right? And the last thing that we need to understand is, this is actually a very much related point, nothing new, but the third thing is what kind of level of understanding both these approaches are expecting us, or they expect us to develop. What level of understanding, so when we talk about the psychometric approach, again I told you that it is dealing with what questions. So therefore the level is very descriptive, or rather you can even say quantitative, right? Why? Because we are answering questions of what does intelligence consist of. So basically the answers would be in the form of like, okay, we have these abilities that constitute intelligence. So we have X ability, Y ability, Z ability, A ability, etc, etc, etc. So we are quantifying intelligence. So we are kind of developing a descriptive level of understanding of intelligence versus the information processing approach, right? So what would the information processing approach kind of helps us develop? What level of understanding? Easy. Explanatory level of understanding, or rather we can even say qualitative. Again, why? Because it is answering questions of why and how. So it's diving into more details that, okay, we have these abilities. So these abilities have been established with the help of all the theories that are falling under the psychometric approach. But how are these abilities going to help us, right? So that is what the information processing approach is going to deal with. It is going to go into even more detail than the psychometric approach. That now we're going to establish the function of these various abilities that we have understood with the help of psychometric approach. So if I have ability of decision making or abstract thinking, what does that mean for me? Just because I'm good at abstract thinking, what does that mean? I'm good at decision making, what does that mean? How will I act? Etc, etc. So I hope you all are getting the point, and this is my understanding about these two approaches, and I hope everything was clear, and I would be glad if you could all share your doubts, insights, anything in the comment box, and I would be very happy to solve those or come up with answers to all of those questions to the best of my ability. And again, from the next video we will be covering 5 theories of intelligence, and we will be covering them up one by one. And that's it for this video, guys, and I hope you enjoyed it. So see you.